Apple's iPhone event invites are officially out, which means in less than 2 weeks' time, we will see the brand new lineup of iPhones for 2025 at the awe-dropping event. And so in this video, we're going to go over all of the latest leaks, rumors, and what we can expect to see for the more interesting iPhones that are coming soon. No offense to the standard iPhone model. We'll talk about a few things here and there, but most of our attention is on the iPhone 17 Air and the 17 Pro models. And let's start with the Air because this is the one that certainly has my attention, as it is the newest iPhone to be introduced into the lineup, and it will replace the Plus from the last few years. The iPhone 17 Air is expected to be 5.5 millimeters thick at its thinnest point, with a thicker pill-shaped horizontal bump for the camera. It'll be the thinnest iPhone to date at over 2 millimeters thinner than the 7.8 millimeter iPhone 16. The iPhone 17 Air will measure in at 6.6 inches, so it'll have a slightly smaller display than the iPhone 16 Plus that it is replacing. But since it is so thin, the 17 Air will also be much lighter to hold than the standard iPhones, which is kind of the main appeal for me. Apple is supposedly using a hybrid titanium aluminum frame, and the weight could come in at around 145 grams. At that 145 gram weight, the iPhone 17 Air would be just a little heavier than the 13 mini. Like the iPhone 17 Pro models, the 17 Air will supposedly have a frame that uses less glass than the current model, so it would be able to better withstand damage from drops. Now, since this phone is so thin, there are a few design compromises. The USB-C port isn't centered from front to back at the bottom, and the speaker grills have been simplified with fewer cutouts. As for the colors, the iPhone 17 Air will be available in black, white, light gold, and a light blue shade that's similar to the blue that Apple used on the MacBook Air, which I believe is called Sky Blue. I like that color from the renders that we've seen. I really think the black's going to look really good. I think it's going to be this matte, sleek, thin device. I'm looking forward to it. Now, from a display perspective for the Air, we are looking at the same Samsung LTPO OLED that's currently on the 16 Pro models, so it will have 120 Hz ProMotion refresh rates. In fact, all of the 17 models this year will have this feature, which is the very first time that that's actually happening. The 17 Air will also feature either an A19 or A19 Pro with one fewer GPU core than the A19 Pro chip that's going to be in the 17 Pro models. Apple is planning to use vapor chamber heat sinks for the 17 lineup across the board to improve thermal performance by spreading heat more evenly across such a large area. Now, before we jump back into the video, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Torras. New iPhone season is here, and I think the first thing that most of us do when we get a new phone is grab a new case. I've been using the Torras Q3 Air on my iPhone 16 Pro Max, and I absolutely love it. The Q3 features a dual-layer airbag structure that delivers 12-foot rugged drop protection in a slim, lightweight design. The lattice texture frame gives it an excellent grip with absolutely no slippage, and the tactile orange button accents are replaceable if you want to switch it up, though I love orange, and I'm sticking with this look. My favorite part is the magnetic 360-degree stand. It clicks smoothly into multiple viewing angles, supports MagSafe, and works perfectly with your charging docks and stands. And it's also built to last. Torras put it through over 3,000 open and closed tests, so they did this 3,000 times to make sure that it stands and works just as well as it did on day one. So I'm loving the Q3 Air, and if you're going to be picking up a new iPhone 17, there will be new colors and updates for that lineup, so I highly recommend picking one up. Visit the link in the description down below, and huge thanks to Torras for sponsoring this video. Now, since the 17 Air is only expected to be that 5.5 millimeter thickness, it's going to have less room for a battery, which is the other compromise that we can expect. Apple is optimizing battery life with the C1 modem, some processor improvements, and high-density battery technology, but the 17 Air could have notably worse battery life than the other iPhone 17 models. Rumors suggest that it will feature just a 2,800 mAh battery, which would be roughly the same size as the battery that Apple once used in the iPhone 12. So we're going back like 5 years in the battery life department. But hopefully all of the other improvements that I mentioned before will bump it up to be at least better than the iPhone 12 was at the time. A leaked battery suggests that it is half as thick as the battery in the iPhone 17 Pro, so that makes sense as to why Apple chooses to go with that one. The other drawback for the 17 Air is that there is only room for one camera. Since there are limited space internally for cameras to be featured, one is making the cut. And so it will have a single lens camera system like the 16E. Now, it'll probably be the same 48 megapixel wide camera that we've kind of come to know and love over the last few years. And with just that single camera, it probably won't support spatial videos or spatial photos. All of the iPhone 17 models will have an upgraded 24 megapixel front-facing camera with better image quality than the current 12 megapixels found on the iPhone 16 models. And since the iPhone Air is going to use the same C1 chip that Apple debuted in the 16E, it means it won't support faster millimeter wave 5G speeds. All iPhone 17 models will use a new Apple-designed Wi-Fi chip with Wi-Fi 7 support, and Apple's own hardware could bring efficiency and connectivity improvements. We do also expect the 17 Air to come with MagSafe charging, an action button and camera control buttons, and an estimated price tag of $899, though some rumors suggest that tariffs could potentially bring the price up just a little bit. And that's all for the 17 Air, but we do have the Pro and Pro Max, which is also going to be intriguing. And as far as those phones go, we are expecting the Pro models to switch from titanium to aluminum frames. The back of the devices will supposedly have a new part aluminum, part glass design. The event invite could possibly hint at a few rumors that I'm going to talk about here, like the new Pro model colors, which are a darker blue and orange-like color. Copper, orange, something like that. It also could mention that the rumored vapor chamber cooling system that we talked about a little bit ago, that kind of has that whole vibe here on the event invite. The logo looks like an infrared heat map outputted by a thermal camera, which could be a hint. A vapor chamber would help prevent the iPhone 17 Pro models from overheating during intensive and sustained tasks, especially like gaming. As I mentioned earlier, the A19 chip is the one for the models this year. For the Pro specifically, it's going to be the A19 Pro. We expect 12 gigs of RAM and again, a 24 megapixel front-facing camera. One of the rumors that seems to be very on again, off again is reverse wireless charging. We've heard this for years. Previous leaks suggested that Apple was testing a 7.5 watt reverse wireless charging feature for the 17 Pro and Pro Max, and that it would be used mostly to charge accessories like AirPods, an Apple Watch, or even an upcoming MagSafe battery pack. Now, this has been a feature on a lot of other smartphones for years now. I mean, I've topped off an iPhone testing it on the Samsung Galaxy S23 for one of those phones in the past, and it could be really useful for scenarios where you need a quick charge for your watch or your AirPods, and you just don't have a cable nearby. I am pretty skeptical that this will actually happen, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. The 17 Pro Max will be the first iPhone to feature three 48 megapixel cameras, and it is set to feature an upgraded 48 megapixel tetra prism camera for enhanced photo and zoom quality. Currently in the 16 Pro, we have two 48 megapixel ultra and main sensors, but we're still rocking a 12 megapixel telephoto, so this will be another huge jump for the telephoto camera and the entire system as a whole. We also have rumors that the 17 Pro models would come with a 5x and 8x optical zoom without using tricks like sensor cropping. A moving telephoto lens would require more parts and internal spaces, which could explain why the camera bump is expected to increase in size this year. And lastly, there have been talks about a dual recording feature so that you can use your front-facing and rear-facing cameras to record video at the same time. Now, this is already possible on an iPhone with third-party apps like Snapchat, for example, but it's not something that currently exists in the native camera app. The awe-dropping iPhone event is set to take place on Tuesday, September 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and we'll of course have coverage throughout MacRumors, MacRumors socials, and the channel right here, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on all of those videos that are upcoming in the next month. There's going to be a lot of them. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.